Good.
Yes, sir.
Life's good.
Life is good.
Today's good.
It is.
And we are live. What's up, folks? What's up, guys? Hello, friends. Hello, border kids. This is the first episode in English.
Let's go.
We are finally here once again. For some people that don't know, we had a little technical difficulty the first time around, but we are here. We are live recording. As you all know, this Border Kid broadcast is a podcast I started already 6 months and a couple of weeks ago. This project is to bring people from the border, Tijuana, San Diego, and even people outside that, just like people outside in, to see what we're made of, what we're capable of, entrepreneurs, a lot of people that I find really interesting, and I know that have a really great story to tell, and I invite here to the podcast. So today we have a really special guest, really great friend of mine since almost like the end of high school. I met him at one of his famous poolside turn-up parties in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Really great friend, Bernardo, shout out. His brother introduced me to him, and he was already on decks playing super sick house music, which I'm a big fan of raves, festivals, electronic music, and he's been a friend since, and he's been producing tracks, been working in the music industry, and every time I see him, every time we party, it's always a great time, and I always learn a lot from him, music-wise, and just, and when it comes to anything. And today I invited him over. His name is Alejandro Bustamante, a.k.a. Currents.
Hey.
What's up, bro?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me, man.
How are you?
I'm good.
Feels like a deja vu, huh?
Oh, straight up, man. It is going to be a deja vu, but it's good.
Man.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me. And to be the first English episode.
Yeah, dude.
Should be cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And obviously, it's always just kind of little nervousness kicking in. But I feel that's the beginning of each podcast I have. I'm really glad that you came down here. I know that you live in LA and you're working over there, but you came here and took a remote week, which is cool. And then you're like, yo, bro, hit me. Let's do it. Let's do it again. And today was the day. But yeah, man, just so we can have a fresh start, and people that don't know you, Alejandro, I know that you're a great music fan, all kinds, not only electronic music, but I know that you started kind of like your music career when, like, I want to say like early, like middle school. You're into hardcore, like rock music, like screamo music, emo music. When we used to go to like Warped Tour. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, man, that's funny. I mean, yeah, music's always been a part of my life. Growing up, listening to music in the car with my parents. Mm-hmm. But I think I really started to develop my own sense of taste. Yeah. Around middle school. I have my cousins. Javier and Ricardo. Shout out to them that live here in Tijuana, and I feel like they were always on top of trends and what was really cool here at the time, and they kind of helped shift our taste in music. Right. So definitely like the hardcore rock, emo, scene, all that stuff was through them. And I just remember, trying to buy our first CD around that age, and like my parents wouldn't let us. It was like a Linkin Park CD.
Why? Because it was like explicit.
It was just, it had explicit lyrics, and we were just like, well, we just like the music, and they're like, no, it's like negative. And it's just funny, like how that was, how hard it was to actually access music back then too. But that's when I kind of started, and from there, just branched out. LimeWire was out, and I would just Kazaa, all that Bear Share. And I just remember going on the sites and downloading everything and just expanding my knowledge from there.
That's dope, man. Yeah, I remember the Kazaa times where you used to like download, I don't know, an album of music or like a music video, and it would link up to like just random ass porn. It would be like, what the fuck? I just like
the Bill Clinton.
Yeah, just like some dark ass web videos, and just be like, yo, like I downloaded this, but it's just like kind of full of virus and just like people trying to like put a bunch of content out that's like not even music. But also like what you were telling me right now with that Linkin Park album, I think my brother bought the Blink-182, the Enemy of State.
Oh yeah.
That one with I think it was like Take Your Pants Off Jacket or Enemy of State. And
one
my
that had the
mom would
condom on
get
it?
so mad because like there was like two songs that would just be
Oh,
like
yeah.
like all fuck, and then she would like take the CD and be like, whenever we got grounded, like she would like, you're not gonna listen to this music, and it would be like, what the fuck, like it's crazy how like beforehand like those things like people now these generations like it's so easy to get streams or just go on to music like rant or just like look on YouTube and you could just listen to any
TikTok,
kind of music.
Spotify, all that. It's just so accessible now compared to how we had it. It was just it's
it's
a very different experience.
That's whack. And then once you started getting into the music with your cousins, well, when I was in middle school, I used to listen to a lot of electronic music, like Daft Punk, were like kind of like the beginnings of it. Mastercraft, Justice. Would you say like you had like similar pathways towards that?
Yeah, so same thing through them. It's like also the radio at the time. I remember being in the car, just waiting in the border, literally, like, and hearing these stations play. Like, it would have Daft Punk, or it'd be like a Spanish song that had a more dance beat, and I was like, what is this, And in my head, that kind of just slowly started to, not only engrave memories, but also shift my taste,
of course,
into that stuff. So
yeah,
from an early age, I remember just hearing those types of songs too.
Yeah. And most of my guests that I've invited over, I think we've already done 29 episodes. I think like out of those 29, like 28 grew up in Tijuana and went to San Diego for school or just like crossed, to buy clothes, like go to music events and go to restaurants. But you grew on the other side of the border.
Yep.
How did that like influence you in the music scene, like in your childhood? Like, did you come down to Tijuana a lot, like when you were younger?
Definitely came down a lot. I mean, I lived here my first 2 years of life, but obviously that doesn't, really count. You don't remember shit. But definitely I feel it kind of changed the way, I feel like the U.S. at least had like, they were a little behind on everything. So whenever I would see this, post the hardcore stuff, the scene stuff, even the electronic stuff, everything was maybe like 4 years behind. And I had seen this already, like with my cousins and all my their friends, they were already listening to that stuff. So I feel like those trends were already a little different, and so it's kind of cool to be ahead of the curve in that way. And also it was just stuff I enjoyed anyway. So, but experience wise, obviously my Spanish kind of went downhill after a certain age. My brothers and I, my brother and my sister and I, we speak English to each other. We're just used to like just speaking that way. And
yeah, because you grew up and
we grew up
at
here.
school. In school, it was like all English.
We weren't allowed to, even though I remember my elementary school, everyone was from TJ, but we're not allowed to speak any Spanish.
Yeah, in classrooms, right?
Yeah, you'd get detention.
Yeah, because over here, like in TJ, there's certain schools that it's like half of the day is in Spanish and then the other half is in English.
Yeah.
Not in all the schools, but I just found it super interesting on that sense where it was just like kind of like basic English, like open, close, and like in, out, just like saying good morning and like what do you like to do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then for me, like going into Chula Vista 4th grade, like it was just like everything in English. Like I only had like two of my homies who I spoke to in Spanish, and it was just like it just like super paisa, but it was just like
change though.
Yeah, when you raise your hand, like I would get super nervous just like speaking English. So like that kind of sense for you, it was just like maybe sometimes you cross the border and like over here like people spoke to you in Spanish and you're like, oh shit, like I know some Spanish but not too much, or it didn't get the same.
No, I definitely felt that reverse. I feel like when hanging out in social groups over here, it kind of felt like that pressure of like, oh, I don't know Spanish that well.
Yeah.
Not to an extent where I can express myself as a person completely. So I did see that challenge,
Yeah.
Over time it got better, but still working on it. But
it happens, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's reverse for you. Anyone that was going to school here and went to school over there.
Exactly. And that's what I told sometimes homies like that went to Otay Ranch when I went to high school in Chula Vista, that I knew that they were probably more than a year in school over there and they never took the effort of learning English because they were just like fucking around in class, and it was just like the English teacher would ask them a question, they would just respond in Spanish and be like, yo, like if you're not making that effort at all, just even one tiny bit, then what are you doing? It's just like you just don't want to learn it because you're lazy or it's just like lack of motivation. But I mean, as long as you can understand conversational Spanish or English, like within the border, like you'll be like set, you know, and it's such an important like tool. And for some people that just know English,
Yeah.
and they give a shit, you know, when it comes to like being a pocho or like that's Spanglish, it's
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we're learning two languages, and you just barely like you can barely speak just English because the way you like express yourself like through bad words or other slang, like it's just kind of like, well, don't never feel so bad about it. Like it's two languages that you're kind of hearing from family members, from friends, and just like also work. So it's just like it's all good, you know.
Yeah.
But that's dope, man. And when did you started to like kind of seeing that electronic music was like kind of your path, or your like kind of you're trying to like do that as a living, or like for college, what did you study?
Yeah, so I think when I really found out my passion for more like dance electronic music was definitely in high school, around like my senior year. I remember making, just for fun, just like these little like, I would always burn CDs for my friends. So like before playlists and stuff, that was my way of like sharing my stuff with my friends. Like these is like curate for you, you know, this specific playlist or
like
CD.
Your music taste.
Yeah, it'd be like, you know, if it's a heartbreak, or if it's like, you know, like you want to get mad or you want to go to the gym, I would make those little CDs and give them to my friends. I still have like a booklet of it, which is pretty funny. Yeah. But I remember having already like a dance one, like a rave one. I made one with like, you know, it was like Daft Punk or something like that. Not that crazy, but like back then I was like, I really want to go to a rave, or I really want to go see a DJ, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it started. And then my 18th birthday, I remember I had my cousin Javier DJ this like little foam party I had in my backyard.
Oh, nice.
And he was, you know, just playing electronic music the whole time. But how I saw everyone interact with the music and how he was playing really inspired me to really like take it one more step. So I was like, I'm already organizing my music, I'm already getting into all these genres. Like the next step is being a DJ. So I talked to him and I was like, yo, can you just teach me? He came over for a day and just set up his stuff, and I remember just learning that day, and from there kept going. Yeah.
You started to explore more subgenres within the genre of
everything, how to mix and just what controllers to buy to like start learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And well, yeah, I feel like a lot of people like have that misrepresentation of electronic music as of like just it's all like one beat, you know, and it's just like that you just click play, you know, being a DJ, and you just like play the other song and then play the next one. But at the same time, like once you are submerged within electronic music, you start seeing that there's electronic bands that are alternative bands, or there's also like techno, like techno music, which is like hard beats, like which is like faster beats, or a slower beat, which is like lo-fi or like a mellow kind of electronic music. So it's just like what at the end of the day, like it all goes through like electricity, you know, electronic like beats, but people don't want to like
they don't want to
accept the fact, you know, that when it comes to that of electronic music. But I just find it super interesting because I've always been a fan too of like house music and dance music, and even like from like I want to say what like the 60s when it was like Grandmaster Flash, when it started like coming up like in New York, and just those beats of like disco beats, like it started to grow in people, and just like it was all like very happy music, and just like from there it just started to evolve, and then that's what it started to become the disco house, you know, or just like other kinds of house. And I truly like admire like each DJ, because it's at the end of the day, as you were seeing like the people at your with Javier, with your cousin, like understanding also like audiences, you know, certain people when you're in a dance floor is just like it's very important, you know. People could be like, oh, just click play, but it's like if you're not at the right time or like on the right mood, like that song is not gonna work.
Yeah.
Never, you know. So when you started like working with music, was it like you were 18, 19?
Yeah, 18 when I really like actually started to take like the DJing seriously.
And you started mixing like just kind of like throwing out there, like winging it, or did you go on YouTube tutorials, or just like kind of?
So yeah, after that day, it was just like YouTube tutorials, you know. I eventually bought my own little gear. It was like this crappy like Torque. I don't even know what the model is anymore, but it ran on Tractor, I think. And yeah, I got it for like Christmas. I bought it, and I remember just going to Big Bear with my family that that winter break, and I just like locked myself in the cabin and just like set up my laptop and my turntable thing.
Yeah.
And just spent the whole time just like mixing.
Didn't even like spend time.
No,
with
I never
family,
even went
just
on the
like-
ski slopes or anything. Like just like
That's crazy.
set up.
Yeah.
And from there, I started recording my own mixes
Yeah.
and just put them on SoundCloud. And that was just like my thing for fun.
Damn. When did SoundCloud start to like become a thing?
Man, I don't know, but I remember I was pretty early.
Like 2009, 2000. No,
Honestly,
earlier,
I
huh?
Yeah, I think it's got to be around 2008, 2009,
2009.
something. If I'm guessing, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's around that time frame because I graduated 2009.
Because even before like ads started to become a thing in all platforms, like I remember SoundCloud was what's the go-to.
Yeah,
Before obviously getting those zippy share files where it was all the mixes
Yeah.
from like different DJs, but I feel like SoundCloud was where the good treasures were at, like in the beginning, like when EDM started to become a thing, right?
yeah, it was definitely like the Wild West. So you can just put up anything at one moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mashups, bootlegs, and it didn't have to be. You know, people uploaded other people's songs, and you could download. You know, it was kind of like a mix of
Yeah.
Spotify and Zip and LimeWire, you know, in a way.
And before there used to be like an option where you could download music, from SoundCloud.
You can still download it, but definitely before it was more
More free.
like I think it was actually you can just only download.
Yeah,
it,
like
so-
not a lot of restrictions.
Yeah,
It
there
just
was not
like-
a lot of yeah.
Yeah, because I remember also like, fuck, dude, I was going down memory lane, but just like kind of like the Dimitri Vegas and like
Yeah.
Mike mixes from like Tomorrowland, and then they had the track list, and then sometimes they didn't have the ID. They had
Yeah.
the ID, and it'd be like, fuck,
What
I
is
want
the
that song
song?
so
Yeah.
good, and then you have to go through look another blog. Cause remember those blogs too, like
Yeah.
by Cowhouse Mafia.
Yeah, Bacao House, I remember that.
And like
Living Electro, all that
Dancing
stuff.
Astronaut was
Yeah.
like one of the biggest ones that started to become a thing. But like before it became a thing,
Yeah.
you could download a bunch of stuff from there. And dude, like the Club FGs, remember that?
Yeah, those were just where I would always get my music. If I didn't have money to buy them on Beatport or something, or they weren't out, just buy, download them there.
Because it was before the streaming world,
Yeah,
right? It was
really.
just like you would have to listen to the radio, like the satellite radio, where
Yeah.
it was like the Club FG with Layback Luke, David Guetta.
Or the actual live streams of like Ultra and stuff like that.
Yeah, dude. I remember when I was in college, like me and the homies in Moore Street. Shout out to the Moore House. We would just sit there on the weekends and just play it.
Yeah.
And then just grab a bunch of beer,
Yeah,
like a
you just
30
watch
rack,
it.
and just pound and just sit there and like, oh, that song's pretty good, just write it down. You're
It's like if you were there, huh?
yeah, which was insane. But it was the way of like knowing about the event and also knowing about the music that the DJ is gonna release.
Yeah.
But that's crazy, man. So yeah, you started like fucking around with the DJing and everything, and then you started to enjoy it a lot. And when you went to college, you went to UCLA, right?
Yeah. I went to UCLA for Design Media Arts.
Design Media Arts,
Graphic design.
So and at the same time, like as a hobby, you were mixing.
Yeah, as a hobby, I was still doing the DJ stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my first year there. I just kind of met another DJ from one of my friends' floors.
Yeah.
At the dorms, and he was like, "Oh, let's just make some flyers, and like get our name out there so we could get booked."
Yeah.
So I remember literally like walking around all of Westwood with like these shitty flyers we made, and like going to house and literally fraternities and sororities and being like, "If you guys need a DJ, like this is our info."
Okay.
And to see if it hit.
Yeah.
And I think he got one gig out of it, but like other than that, we were just playing in like literally in our
Your
dorms
dorm? Yeah.
with like 10, 15 people, and that was our parties because we weren't 21.
Yeah.
And it's just like we weren't in a fraternity, we didn't know what to do. So it's like that was our way of having fun.
Yeah, and even it was before like Instagram became like such a big impact in our lives of where you would go door to door literally.
That
and
was
just,
my marketing, literally.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like it's just like how everything has evolved nowadays, and just like it's so easy, so accessible to just make a PDF file or just like make a brochure and just like send it out to millions of people. But before it's just like, I mean, not saying that we're super old, but it's just you would go door to door and just be like, yo, if you want a DJ or like at your party, like come and check us out. Because I remember also like at raves, like at Monster Massive, like EDC in LA, there were people outside with like
With the
flyers,
flyers, yeah.
with flyers about like, oh, after party, or like there's gonna be another event like in 6 months, because like you never really saw it unless you went into one of those blog pages,
Exactly.
Which is crazy. And what made you decide go to UCLA?
Honestly, I wanted to do film. I wanted to get into film, and some weird way I couldn't figure out the page like when you're applying. I don't know why the film program never showed up.
Oh,
And I was
okay.
like, design media arts. And it said the description. And I was like, oh, okay, obviously graphic design, but there was some video work in there. So I was like, oh, this is the closest thing.
Yeah.
And worst case, I could transfer to film.
Yeah.
So by the luck of God or whatever, the universe,
Yeah.
I got in there because I already had a portfolio. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I got in and I was like, this is the best school I got
Yeah.
into. It's in LA. It's not too far from San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
It just made sense for me. And yeah, man,
That's
I don't
what's
regret
up.
it at all, but it just all happened really like in a weird way.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like design media, like comes before a film. I mean, with film comes the production, like making a movie and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it all basically like it needs like a backbone and everything, right? And you need to design it. You need to like make it from like square one, you know. So it just like it kind of both of them like feed off each other. So it's not really like a hit or miss, you know. It's like
Mhm.
it's within the same realm. So
Exactly. So that's why when I was in there, I was already like, you know what, this is still what I like to do. It's still
Mhm.
creative, and
Yeah.
I stuck it through, and I enjoyed it. Honestly, it was definitely not what I thought it would be in terms of like what you're learning is more the thought process of a design and like
Mhm.
how you're creating things and why, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas you're expected to already know the programs.
of course.
That already was one of the bare minimums going
Mhm.
in. So I think that was definitely one of the tougher things,
Yeah.
but I learned a lot through there.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like classes for design media, like, do you remember one of them, or like maybe a teacher that maybe like influenced you on becoming like, or like knowing the fact you're like, oh shit, like that's why I'm here, like just some cool classes that you may take.
I think overall we had some, you know, really unique classes. We had like a video game design class,
Mhm.
which was really fun. We got to make a board game.
Yeah.
We had animation classes. We had like a branding class, typography class, even painting.
Let's see.
But I think the most impactful one was literally this class where the teacher would just talk to us. His name was Bob.
Mhm.
And yeah, this older gentleman and the nicest guy you'd ever meet.
Yeah.
But he let us just choose our own projects.
That's dope.
And funny enough, one of my projects was to redo cover arts
Mhm.
for one of my favorite, you know, albums.
Mhm.
So I would redo like a Kanye cover art. I did like a Red Hot Chili Peppers one,
Nice.
Cascade, stuff like that, you know, at
Yeah.
the time that I liked. And funny enough, it kind of just ties into what I'm doing now. So
Yeah.
I think that really helped me. That class really helped me develop myself as to going into the music industry and doing stuff that I want to do.
Shout out to Bob, man.
Shout out to Bob, man. I don't know what he's doing now, but
Yeah.
what a guy.
But yeah, man. I mean, I feel like if you talk to people, he communicated something that he's really like inspired about or very passionate about, and if that resonates with you, it's like, and he opened up like that freedom of creating or like making a project, but he gave you the freedom of doing whatever you wanted, you know?
Literally.
Because I feel like when it comes to this, like structure, I feel like sometimes you feel like kind of like your hands are tied, and I mean you could work something out, but it's not as enjoyable as like what you were doing. You know?
100%. I think that's what happened to me while I was there. You know, all these classes were like, you're not that you're forced to do it, but being creative, it's kind of more, you're expressing yourself, you're doing it in your time,
Mhm.
and it just comes to you. You can't force something to come out. I mean, you can, but is it going to be your best work? Probably not. So I felt that my whole time there. So the design stuff for me during my college time, the love for it kind of died down, and that's why music was gaining its its love in my life, because
Definitely.
it was the hobby that I liked, and I put everything into it
Yeah.
during my time there.
That's what's up. Yeah, that's dope. And right when you said about your project that he gave you the freedom of just like choosing whatever artist to make the album art or the cover art, it reminded me of a class I took at UC Santa Cruz. Shout out Banana Slugs, and shout out to all the homies and Seth, Ajax, everyone. I'm like saying everyone now, like
Shout out everyone.
no, because like
I know.
everyone like is listening to the Spanish podcast.
Oh,
They're
hell
like,
yeah.
bro, like once you listen to or like once you release an English one, like let me know. But I mean, it's been almost like 29 episodes until
Yeah.
we make one in English finally with the audio and everything's good. But yeah, like when there was a class, it was called sound, just film sound, and like film score and all about just sound in general. And the final project was to make a project on your own, like based on whatever you want. You could check out all kinds of mics, but the thing was that you would make a project on Logic, and you would you would send the whole file, like the whole folder, to the teacher from step one all the way to your last step, and then masterize the song or master everything that you did,
That's
and
dope.
then show it to them. But obviously, like, if you didn't give them the folder, you could just like send them a track, and then they'll be like, "Oh, it's a great song," but let's see if he actually made that song, or made that track. So what
Show
I
your work,
did,
kind of, in a way.
yeah. So he would like see your whole process and see, okay, this guy definitely like invested his time into this project, or this guy didn't really do any shit. It was just like weird noises. But yeah, I remember like getting a bunch of mics, or 2 mics, sorry, and then honestly, I kind of procrastinated, and I had like 2 more days to do it, and I was just in my house, and I just recorded all random noises from my house. There's like a little doink thing like in the back of my door. Like, cause like instead of hitting the wall, it was just like make a little doing. I recorded the doing. I recorded like the toilet flushing. I recorded like the backboard with a toilet seat hitting it, and then I recorded like a stapler making a stapler sound. So it's just like random ass noises. I'm just like mixing it up all around like within Logic, and just made a whole trippy like UFO track.
That's sick.
Yeah, and I would just reverse the toilet sound, like the other way around, inverse it, and it sounds so trippy. And then obviously I added the bass to the toilet seat when it was hitting. So it was like very enjoyable because he gave us the freedom of that. And also like learning the ins and outs of Logic, because, I mean, you working with like music within Ableton, within Logic, is just like, it's like a whole world, It's just like, there's no limits. But it's just like, you kind of get like overwhelmed in the beginning, because it's just like you can do like just literally anything. But it's definitely a cool thing when it comes to, in universities where we paid thousands and thousands of dollars. There's cool teachers like Bob, or the teacher that gave me that project of freedom, because once it's structured, it's just like, dude, I don't see I'm paying like, I don't know, like $2,000, $3,000 for this class, and you're not letting me do what I'm passionate about. It's kind of weird,
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, that's cool that you also found a passion through there. And then while you were in school, you were DJing. I'm guessing you're talking about fraternities and sororities. You were in a frat.
Yeah, so my second year, obviously, I realized to have like the social life that I wanted, I had to join at least some sort of, like after school program, extracurricular, group, and that happened to be a fraternity. UCLA is a commuter school, meaning that a lot of people, they're from LA for the most part, and they just go home. They don't actually live in the dorms.
Yeah.
And when you're not 21 as well, LA is huge. It's really hard to actually go out there.
Yeah.
Especially if you didn't have a car back then. There wasn't Uber when I was, a freshman or sophomore. So to have the social life I wanted, I started to check out fraternities and ended up joining Sigma Pi at UCLA. And at the time, the parties that they had was just a couple of people over and some beer pong in the chapter room. But I told them, I was like, I'm a DJ. Like, why don't we have parties here?
Yeah.
And when we officially joined, once we did Rush and all that stuff, we convinced them to buy a PA system and a sub.
Yeah.
And so we set up, this little stage in the room and started doing these weekly parties. Every Thursday I would just get up there and start DJing, and eventually just turn into a thing. And now that I look at it, everyone started doing the same thing, because it was, why not?
Yeah.
You have the accessibility, you have the equipment, you have your own party. You don't have to rent a DJ to come out, and you can just throw these kick-ass parties every week.
Yeah.
So
it started to become a thing, like where people started to know that you were mixing, you were DJing within your fraternity. Did you have a name back in the day, or?
Yeah. So I stuck with this, it's kind of like my high school nickname was just Alex Bustamove, which I don't know if you remember the MySpace days, especially if you were like emo or scene, you would have your name and then like in brackets, just like a nickname or something.
Yeah.
So my last name is Bustamante, and someone, I forget who it was, but in my high school, they were just like, oh, Bust-a-Move. And I was like, it just kind of stuck. Yeah. And so that was my MySpace name. And from there, I was like, hey, why not? That's my DJ name.
That's what's up, man.
So, yeah.
And you started mixing. And then, like, your first mixes, was it all basically like electronic music, house music, or what were your influences?
It was really funny because back then it was a lot of like top 40 like remixed. So like you could even think of like Lady Gaga or Katy Perry, but like with a house beat.
With electro mix.
Yeah, with electro or like those like Dave Out or those guys, you know. So it was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then obviously you keep digging down the rabbit hole, and your taste changes, and you start finding out what you like more.
Yeah.
And then randomly, just not randomly, but I really got into like trap and obviously the big room stuff.
Yeah.
So that was a major part of that project, those genres.
Yeah. That's dope. No, I mean that's what's like really cool about like being part of within the music scene, also like expanding your knowledge too. You could just be a square and just stay within the realm of your subgenre, but you like actually like discover and explore more things, when it comes to, well, trap was evolving too, like when we were in college.
Yeah.
I know that you're like 2 years older than I am, but I remember like when the Harlem Shake happened,
Yeah.
and all those like cool like viral things going on, and trap was like the big names that came out. What was his Harlem Shake? Who was that?
Bauer, and
Bauer.
then you got Earl Grime. You had even Dylan
dude.
Francis did a bit. I don't know.
Dylan
Foster
Francis.
Damas, all those guys.
Moombahton. When
Moombahton
Moombahton became a thing, right? Where just like it was like kind of reggaeton, but like with a little bouncy, like a bounce house, like kind of vibe to it. So that was an amazing time, because it was that's when like kind of EDM started to become like a thing when it came to like pop music, and it's just like we were like right on the rise of it, or you were on the rise too, working or like mixing like in all these parties, and I was listening to all these like mixes too. And that was funny that you said about the Lady Gaga like electro mix, because it was just like 128 BPM, and it rose like 30 seconds in, and then the beat dropped, and then it repeated again, and it would just be like very what's the word, like methodical, I'm guessing. It was just always like the same routine, right? And then I feel like these kind of DJs that were into like that broke those things where it comes to like progressive house, but at the same time they make their own like methods, that's where like started to become like a greater thing. And yeah, so you were mixing there in UCLA, and I heard you won a contest when it comes to being in college. How did that happen, or like how'd you win that?
Yeah, so around like my junior year, there was a bunch of, I don't know if I just started getting invited to these things, but there was these like competitions that Red Bull would put on, or just the university in general. Like if you wanted to open for, every year the college has a kickoff party in the beginning of the year, and they'll bring like big names.
Yeah.
I mean, like one time we had like Childish, and then LMFAO and people like that.
Yeah.
So there was like a DJ competition to open. I started there. I got second place there. I didn't win that one. A good friend of mine did win, which was cool. But from there, it kind of started to become a thing where I would get invited to these other ones. And so I remember just these things that Red Bull would put on. They'd be like once a month, or not even. But anyways, like, yeah, it'd be people from USC, where else, Loyola, stuff like that. All those like colleges in LA, and we would just battle it out every once in a while.
And what were they based off the competition? Was it like how fast you can mix a song in, or like how many tracks can you mix in an hour?
So funny enough, the first couple ones that weren't that serious were just based off the crowd. So if you didn't bring anyone, it was kind of like you're obviously going to lose. And I remember showing up to one, and it was just me. Nobody could go because it was like a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And the other guy brought a shit ton of people, and it was all his crew. And I was like, all right, whatever. At least I got to play, which is fun. But after that, it was a legit Red Bull 3 style, which is basically based off of how many genres you can mix in, I think it was 5 minutes or something like that. 5 or 10 minutes, I don't remember. But you have to at least mix 3 different genres. And that was, there was a cash prize for that. Okay. And I ended up winning that one. So I'm really proud of that one. It was fun. I actually got people to go out, and but that had judges. So it wasn't just like hey...
Yeah. Like,
crowd reaction. No. Yeah, I actually won based off of like tracks and skill, and
That's dope. So. And how long did you mix that one? Was it like 10 minutes?
Yeah, minutes? I don't remember. It was like 10 minutes. It's really short, but there's like 5 DJs.
Yeah.
And you all competed.
And did you practice before, or was
man, I was super nervous, obviously. I had to practice.
Yeah.
Back then I felt like I wasn't at a point where I was comfortable just, going with whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now I feel like I can just play. I find something, I'm like, okay, I can mix this in, no problem. But back then it was definitely harder.
Yeah, because I was gonna bring up DJs like Laid Back Luke, who just like can mix like 80 songs in like, I don't know, like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, like 8-track, who just like kind of has that like ear to like music, and he just can like mix whatever into whatever. Like when it comes to you, like, do you normally like nowadays, do you still practice, or do you just like kind of wing it? You see like a track list, and then you could just like kind of playing with the first one and then the bottom one, and then start mixing around, playing around, or how's your process when it comes to
my process? Yeah, it's usually, I'd like to sort my music beforehand. So I'll download all my music and then sort it by like genre or BPM, so how fast it is or not. And that kind of just gives me an idea of at least like the categories. And then when I'm mixing, I'll know like, okay, well, this is house, and then like if I want to go into reggaeton, like I at least have the folder. Right. And I'll bring down the pitch and then start going from there, or I'll have a transition track. But it's just more about being prepared now. I could definitely do it more on the fly.
Right.
But
before it was
definitely harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because also like you got the pressure of like how the crowd is gonna react to the songs, and then also yourself, like if you're on cue, and then just a lot of factors going on, right? If you ate before too,
it really is. If you're drunk or whatever, it's all a factor.
Because like, I mean, for other, like people that are mixing, like they go on for like 2 hours. There's other mixes that go on to like 5-6 hours, and sometimes I'm like, damn, bro, like, have you ever gone to the bathroom? Are you wearing a diaper? Or like, what's up with that? Because like they go on for forever, but it's just like, it's also like you are working, it's like a job, so you got to stay hydrated. And it's like, as much as everyone thinks like, oh, DJs just play music, we'll play the next one, you also gotta be like on like track with your timing, and also like with the beat and everything. So like, yeah, it's definitely like it's definitely a tough job. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of like DJs, and they mention that, and a lot of people don't give that merit, and they don't give that credit, which I think is stupid. But I mean, everyone's gonna be like that. I mean, people might be listening to like, oh shit, like rock stars, or like people into like metal or like bands are like, no, dude, like DJs suck, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, it to each of its own, like whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is where I see the hate is just people that don't understand it. They don't understand the actual process, or what goes like, what you have to do to prepare for it, or while you're doing it. And once you figure that out, you can, respect it more and see it more as an art form. I think the actual term DJing is like, I don't know, it's just more, I see it now and I'm like, I don't like to, I was very, I was very, how can I say this?
Like very blocked, or like kind of blind, like tunnel vision, or
yeah, I guess more like, very picky on like, if you don't use CDJs, you're not a DJ. If you don't do this or vinyl or whatever,
more
but
of a picky
if you have a controller and you're using a laptop, you're not a DJ. But like now I see it, it's like there's so many ways you can do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, at the end of the day, I think the art side of it is the track selection and actually getting a party going, or people dancing at the end of the day, or the vibe of it. What if you can match that?
Yeah,
that's the art form.
Yeah, because I've noticed. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I've noticed too, like in like warm up tracks or warm up set, like obviously you're not gonna put like a Fisher track or like a Tiesto track that is like a very big house beat, and then people are gonna be like, bro, it's like there's like two people around here, and I've seen DJs like go all out, and it's just like, bro, like you're kind of like missing the point here. Like you're warming up the dance floor, and then when the people come at like 12 or 2 in the morning, that's where like the real party starts, and that's when you play that track, Yeah. But people don't really like see those dimensions and don't like analyze the crowds, right?
Yeah, you don't pay attention to it,
Yeah. I mean, and I also like respect like DJs like like Deadmau5, but other DJs too, like who just never look at the crowd. They just like work what they do, like what they enjoy doing, and it's like if people are gonna resonate to it, like, or they don't really care. But what do you think of those like DJs that never really like see the crowds, or those other DJs that grab the mic and it's like, oh, give me noise, 1, 2, 3, and it's just like,
It's different, man. Everyone has their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you want to put on a show and have this character,
Yeah.
then great. You know, you can do all the 1, 2, 3s you want. But you know, at the end of the day, it's your fan base. If that's what they want to see, that's what they want to see.
Yeah.
Or you can be like Gustaffelstein and just literally fucking smoke a cigarette and just
Cigarette
look like a
cigarette.
badass on stage and not care. You know,
Yeah.
like, but that's his thing. You know,
Yeah.
like so.
Everyone has its own style.
Everyone has
right?
their own thing, as long as that's it. And you know, if you're focused and you really care about the track selection, and you don't, you know you're gonna make the crowd dance regardless, then great. You
Definitely.
don't have to show off and jump up or do all this crazy stuff. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's DJ to DJ, or just artists that are more of like crowd pleasers, and then there's people that just like stick to the craft, and then if they like it, that's dope. If they don't, that's still cool too, you know. But yeah, that's dope that you get to see like the big spectrum of things and like understand that if they're into it, whatever floats their boat, if they're happy and they have a good crowd, that's pretty dope, you know. Like keep working on their craft. And so you graduated from college, from UCLA. What was your next step after that? What were you doing?
So actually, I had an extra quarter after I graduated. Technically, I had to do a class that I had to redo.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, though, I started obviously looking into jobs to see where I was going to go
Yeah.
with my degree. And somehow I stumbled upon a Facebook post
Mm-hmm.
that one of this record labels that I was obviously into at the time as a DJ was hiring an intern. So Size Records, one of Steve Angelo's labels,
Mm-hmm.
was hiring. I was like, why not? And I sent the resume that I had, which, you know, I had only had one job in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have much of a resume, but I had my design stuff. And I sent that and somehow got it. So
That's great. So it's just like a Facebook post.
it's a Facebook post, yeah.
And did someone send it to you, or you found it, or you stumbled upon it?
Now looking back, I don't remember if someone sent it, but I've had friends send me stuff and like, you should apply, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
looking back, yeah, I was just remember seeing the post and I sent an email. And
dope. And this was even like before like Indie.com, where you had your own like profile and everything, right?
Mhm.
It was just like finding posts online, right?
yeah, LinkedIn wasn't that big. I mean, I think it was starting to take off when I was
Yeah.
graduating. So yeah.
Yeah,
It
you
was
got
just
the
a
gig,
Facebook
like, or you
post.
got the interview. Did you go to their offices, or what was that process?
Yeah, so
like?
at the time they had their office at a management company called Red Light Management.
Mhm.
They're pretty big.
Yeah.
But they were based out of there because Steve was managed by them at the time. And I remember going in my suit and my laptop to show my work and talk to these, you know, the guys that were hiring me.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to them a while back, I think like 2 months after, and they're like, you know, the only reason we hired you is because you're the only person that wore a suit. And I was
No
like,
way.
what? I was like, that's my natural instinct. You're showing
Yeah.
up to a job interview, you're going to wear a suit.
Yeah, you're gonna be classy.
So, yeah,
And
they obviously like my design work too, but, you know, hopefully,
I
I
love how
mean,
you weren't, but
But-
don't do any design. Just keep on wearing what you're wearing.
this guy was like, this guy looks professional, you know, we want to hire him. So
Yeah.
I'm
That's
glad I
cool.
wore a suit that day.
Yeah, and especially like being in a creative, like on the creative side of things, like
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's a lot of like introverts that just do design like on the computer and not really are very like presentable to people, and
Yeah.
then just like they probably got a lot of like people who were just coming in with jeans and like
Yeah.
probably they're not showering in the last week or so, and you come in with a suit and
Yeah.
you look professional and it's like, oh shit, this guy's for real, you know?
Well, see, looking back now, like the music industry is very, you know, not laid back, but there's
Mhm.
definitely no,
Squares.
yeah, there's no, not that
Or-
even. It's just there's no rules, I guess, in a way, because
Mhm.
you do your work and that's it.
Yeah.
But I think high school really prepared me for those types of interviews because
Hell yeah.
we had TPOLs at High Tech High International. Was like you had to present in front of the class and your teachers certain things that you learned, and you would have to wear a suit.
Yeah.
You had to do like a 10-minute presentation on the subject, so you worked on these skills.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
it wasn't for that, you know, I wouldn't. We had to do internships, and I remember many interviews that we had to do with the recruiters just to do
Yeah.
that. So that helped me a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like that nowadays, like even before them, like in public schools, like that's what sometimes like schools lack of, like job readiness programs.
Yeah.
Also like even tax preparers, like things that would definitely build us for becoming a like better adults, you know, after high school. Because like sometimes like science, math, it's like those general courses that sometimes if you're not enjoying it, like why should you be taking it, you know?
Exactly.
And it's just like I feel like sometimes school, like structured schools, like kind of build you up to become like an employee, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of like becoming a creator, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming someone that you find a true passion, and it's okay if you are achieving that goal or pursuing that dream. Like if you're having fun, enjoying yourself, and you some way or another you're gonna start making money, but like in the beginning it's gonna be a rough patch. Like I feel that's definitely like what's lacking in some schools, you know.
Yeah, it would be nice to have courses like that, just to really prepare you for the real world, you know.
Yeah. And then so you started as an intern at Size Records and working with Steve Angelo, who you were a really great fan. Like, did you get to meet him the first year? Or?
Yeah, so I remember he came into the office, and obviously I was starstruck as hell. And but honestly, super nice guy, super down to earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, over time, got to connect with him more as my time progressed there. He didn't go in that much, but yeah, we got to go to Miami with him and do a couple of things and see him play here and there. So that, you know, I got to really build that connection with him. So
and while you were working,
yeah,
know,
while I was
just
working,
like going in for free, or just like, I mean, the company itself would pay your stuff, you know, and
yeah, we got to go to Miami one year and do all these like promo stuff for
That's
the company that we did. So that was cool.
That's awesome, man. And your first year of your internship, what were your duties like as an intern, if you can say it?
Yeah, I remember it was really basic stuff, you know, like maybe like out now banners for all the releases, help out with just little like assets like that for the record label.
Yeah.
And then just help out with expenses. Like I remember just like documenting them.
Nice.
That's about it. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And eventually over time, obviously it progressed to more duties.
Yeah, but I'm guessing you started to know like an area that you probably never knew about, but will definitely like benefit you in the long run, you know, and just like started working there. And was there like a point in that first year where you're like, fuck, dude, I have no idea how to do this. Like, I think I'm going to fail, or just like I'm going to get kicked out, or was it all kind of like you started knowing everything like pretty well?
I think it's really important just either way to get thrown into it, because that's the only way you're going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, within my first year, I think a year in, literally, we moved and decided to have our own office. Nice. And from there, I officially got employed, and I started running all the social media for like the label and all the artists.
Nice.
So that for me was obviously scary.
Yeah.
Just being like, these accounts have hundreds of thousands of followers, and I'm in charge of like 7 of them, you know, like, yeah. So it's like, that was really intimidating, but I just got thrown into it and started developing it, you know.
And did you like have like a limit of like replies, or was it just like you answer everything as your instinct would tell? Or
it was mainly, yeah, you know, we would develop a calendar. I would develop like a content calendar and say, you know, this week we're posting this. Give me like, these are the photos that I think would be, you know, do great.
Right.
You know, obviously mainly if there was a release from those artists, that's what we would really work. But
those promos maybe like every other day or every 2 days.
Exactly.
Like
so like the teaser comes out
the same post
the week before, and then it's like, okay, out now. Then you keep going.
That's dope. So, and I'm guessing like you would use like their accounts on Twitter, they're on Instagram,
everything, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah.
And you would reply sometimes?
We honestly try to keep away from that, only if it was like a giveaway or something like that we were doing.
Got it.
Just to keep it more, you know, at least set that boundary. More organic. Of like artist and fan.
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't that big to be that engaging with your fans, so
of course.
That was kind of our strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, because I remember back in the day too, like I would go on Twitter and I would like reply to Swedish House Mafia or like Steve Angelo or like Axwell or Grosso, and I would just like reply something or like say something dumb or just like see how they would reply, and then I would get a like from them, and it would be like, oh shit, you would get so excited because it would be that interaction between fan and artist, as you were mentioning, and just like you get goosebumps. And then sometimes they would reply with like a little word or like two, like a phrase, and be like, oh shit, like I would go with my homies like, yo, like Sebastian Grosso like replied to my comment, and they're like, bro, that's like the social media manager. And I'm like, fuck you, like why are you bursting my bubble? But sometimes you would notice like the way they talk. It'd be
Exactly.
like, yeah, it's them for sure.
Well, nowadays I feel like too it's changed because obviously now more people are into Instagram and social media, so it's the artists actually want to do it themselves. Back when I was working it though, it was still like Instagram was new.
Yeah.
Facebook was like even the phone app wasn't even that great, so nobody was really on it.
Yeah.
Only on their computers, so that's why I was in charge of that. Nobody really had time for it,
Yeah.
And now it's more accessible.
Yeah.
So now if you are getting replies by artists, they're probably on it now, But back then it was unheard of.
Yeah. I feel that that's very important too, because like for the artists, like seeing the fans and their reactions
Exactly.
to things, and just like if they don't like a certain song or if they don't like a certain style, they do, like you also gotta like take everything as like constructive criticism, right? Like because like not take things personal, because like that will, I mean, you're an artist, like you're in the entertainment business, like you gotta roll with the punches, because there's some people that some artists that go pretty insane and go psycho on on fans, and that's where you kind of like burn yourself out, and then that's where like everything goes downhill.
That's where it's good to have a social media person.
Exactly.
But yeah,
if you're not a people's person, like
you have to know how to separate it.
Yeah. That's interesting. And when you worked at Size Records, how long did you work there?
I was there for 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah, 2 to 3.
And besides Steve Angelo, did you meet other people that maybe, I don't know, became your mentors, or just someone that was definitely like someone like, oh shit, this person, like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have kept on going?
I really became close with pretty much all the artists there, which is a great experience.
Nice.
I would have never thought that these are guys I looked up to, especially as a DJ and producer. Guys like Third Party and Max Evangeli, those guys are some of the nicest guys. They would always bring me along. They always wanted to party together. So I got to see the fun side of the music industry through them,
That's what's up.
So I think that was really cool. And obviously at the time, I met Junior Sanchez, who was the A&R for the record label while we were there.
Nice.
And he still is a part of my life and has really shaped me in my musical career.
Yeah.
He, at one point, gave the trust to have me manage his label, which at the time I was like, what? Like, you want me to manage a record label? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But he had that. He saw that in me, and that really, sparked more confidence and, really pushed me as a person.
Hell yeah.
So I'm always grateful for that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what life's about, lending the ropes to the upcoming person that's like, like younger generations, people that are like definitely have a different perspective on things, and just like when it comes to the business, and also like when it comes to being a human, it's just like if he saw that light in you and just like believed in you, like, well, might as well take it. And even though like you were kind of scared, like what the fuck, like I'm just Alex Bustamante from Chula Vista, and I mean I've been in the UCLA, but it's just like admiring that and admiring your hard work and those like late nights that you worked within the record label, and just like seeing that actually like bringing like all that reward, and just like that must feel super super fucking amazing, right?
Yeah, it was definitely an amazing experience when I got the call, and I was like, what? Like, this guy wants me to do that? Like, that's insane. Obviously, you're scared, you're anxious, but
yeah,
the excitement overcomes everything.
Yeah, and back in that day, what was his record label called?
So it's Brobot Records.
Oh, it's still Brobot?
It's still, yeah, I'm still managing it till this day.
Nice.
So it's almost 10 years now.
Damn.
It's just crazy.
And then while you were in Size Records and then Brobots, were you like kind of splitting yourself into like 2-3 different pieces and just like working all around, or when was it where you're just like, oh shit, I'm gonna focus?
So at the times, Brobot was still a part of it. Was like undersized. It was like a sub label. So it was okay to be working both.
Yeah.
It's still part of my job.
Yeah.
So I found a way to work it through, and it was fun. Yeah.
And while you were working all this, like, I'm guessing for hobby, like, you were still working on music, or you kind of took a break there? Or...
It was definitely not my priority at the time, because my biggest thing was I wanted to be in the back end of things and learn all that.
Yeah.
So the music was not on hold. I was still producing on Ableton and learning the program.
Nice.
But it was nowhere near, like, where I wanted to be, like, especially after hanging out with these guys, like, the stuff they produce is just, like, I wanted to get to that level, you know?
Of course, learning like getting all the juice out of like
Yeah.
what you're looking at and just taking a bunch of notes or like mental notes.
Yeah, just being in the studio with them and stuff and just seeing how they work it helped a lot.
It's crazy, man. I mean, keep it PG, but like, did you ever see something like things that you would never imagine like being outside of like Size Records, or like some like crazy story where you just like met someone that I don't know you never met, you wouldn't imagine meeting, or
like,
or no, I don't know, like a crazy party story, or just like something like, bro, like
I think just like the craziest stuff of working there was in general just like the experiences of seeing how the DJ life was. I think that was really fun.
Yeah.
Getting to go to Ultra, going backstage and seeing the shows like that.
Yeah.
Getting free tables in hotels in Vegas whenever they played. Like, dude, I made a whole summer out of that, and like I'm grateful that they gave me, you know, those things. So shout out to those guys for always taking care of me. You know, it was always just such a good time, and just something that money couldn't even buy. It's just like an experience that
that's what's up.
You have to be there to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you know, and I know, like, just Vegas, and when it comes to buying tables, is really, really pricey, really expensive, like, like ridiculous, and you like getting that experience and also working at the same time. It's just like that's the way to go, you know. And then for you, it's just like music and the creative side of things is just like you were in the perfect setting, right?
Yeah,
that's dope. And just seeing everyone and just talking to them as human beings, and not, I mean, at the same time, you are a fan of them, of their work. Like, it must be definitely surreal.
It was, you know, and I remember now, it's just like, obviously over time, I'm not saying that it goes away, but it's definitely leaves a mark on you, you know?
Yeah, that's what's up, man. And then after you worked at Size Records, did you go back to San Diego? Did you stay in LA, or what was it the next step after that?
Yeah, so eventually I found myself back in San Diego after I had my time at Size, and I was just living with my parents, kind of figuring out what to do with my life. There wasn't really, I wasn't making much there. It was such a beginner role, and the company, there wasn't really that much to grow in.
Yeah.
So for me, I was finding a way to really either stay in LA or find a completely different path, because the money just wasn't there. So yeah, I found myself in San Diego for about 2 years, just really looking for a job, not knowing what to do. So that was really tough. But luckily, out of nowhere, another Facebook post comes. And this one my friend Freddie sent. Shout out Freddie.
Shout out Freddie.
And it's for Fingers Crossed. So the house and techno promoters in San Diego.
Damn. And before like continuing on the story, like when you told your parents about working at Size Records and like working with DJs, like what were their reactions?
So at first, obviously, it wasn't the best reaction.
Yeah.
Especially when they saw what I was making. But I stuck it through, and luckily for them, like, they've been super supportive no matter what. No matter what.
Yeah,
you know, I always got the talk of, like, when are you going to do something where you're making more money? Like, I know things are going well, but you need to think about your future.
Right.
That was always the convo. But they always, no matter what, still stuck by my side. So I love them for that. And if it wasn't for that, you know, like, there's people that are less fortunate that don't get to have that, you know, support system.
Yeah, they crush their dreams.
You have to really just conform and just do something you don't want to do.
Definitely. Yeah, man, and it's definitely devastating, like, when it comes to like your support system, like, just giving you shit or like kind of limiting you from what you are pursuing, and just like kind of turning that light off of that passion that you are like searching. Because I mean, I work with kids that are on probation, like youth between 13 and 19 years old in San Diego, and just like they don't have that support system, they don't have that father, that mother figure. And when they come to the program, it's an after school program where we teach them about like emotional literacy groups. We teach them how to get a job, how to dress up fancy for an interview, how to answer interview questions, even community service hours. So a bunch of things that would help them shape after high school and also reincorporate them back to society. And that's definitely like a really intense like labor or task, because like they don't have that at home. So you got to like teach them like, yo, like you can do this, and are you passionate about this? Like go for it, you know, like don't be afraid of it. But it's like they don't know how to like navigate through that. But I mean, luckily enough, you had your parents that supported you and they like gave you the green light all the time. But yeah, I mean that's really important. Just like for the people that are listening, just like having that support system when it comes to your friends or your family or just like even your girlfriend, your boyfriend, like if they are limiting you to whatever you truly find happiness within inside of you, like I'm guessing, sorry, like that person's not meant for you, or like you should kind of like tell them, let them know. It's like, hey, bro, like I really enjoy doing this. Like if you don't want it, then sorry, and kind of always have a say about what you want, in life.
100%.
Yeah, and so you came down to San Diego. You were like looking for the job. You started working with Fingers Crossed. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing they started seeing like your resume, working with side records. So that was kind of a
definitely
easier
helped.
Access.
I already had my foot in the door in a way,
Mm-hmm.
So they saw that. They saw I did a bit of design. I didn't really have that big of a portfolio then, just my college stuff, but I started off as a marketing intern.
Yeah.
So I helped out with the social media, did like newsletters and stuff like that we would send out, and updated the websites. Very basic stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like a year after, slowly, like somehow I was able to showcase the fact that I can design and have, more creative ideas, and the fact that I am a DJ and have this knowledge of the stuff we were trying to sell.
Yeah.
I was able to showcase that to, my team, and they started to believe in me more and more. And I finally got, I think like a year in, I got offered a full-time job.
Nice.
And I was helping the marketing manager with, everything. And from there, more design work came. I did more flyer stuff, rebrand stuff whenever they needed it. And just like creative ways of selling the shows and doing contests.
Yeah. People that don't know like what Fingers Crossed is, what is Fingers Crossed?
Yeah, so Fingers Crossed is a promotion company, I guess, that brings out house and techno based DJs and artists to San Diego.
Located in San Diego, that's where the headquarters are at.
So they used to own Bang Bang, which is a really big venue, it's still around.
Yeah.
And they would just do weekly shows there, and they also had their biannual festival, Cross Festival, which I'm sure most of you have heard now. So yeah, they just really focused on bringing those types of acts to San Diego, which really was new at the time.
Yeah, and I mean that's where I really enjoy that festival. For many people that don't know about Cross, and I tell people also like in the Bay Area or just people that don't live in San Diego, just the festival itself is. Everything is 21 and up, that's like the greatest thing ever. Because like when you go to Coachella Festival, or when you go to Ultra, or when you go to Bonnaroo, or just like other festivals in the U.S., there is a beer garden. You have to like chug the beer, the alcohol, and then
so far away from the stage.
Get out of the beer garden and then go to your artist, or go to your DJ. But at Cross Festival, you can buy obviously everyone is 21, so you could just bring your drink wherever you go. So I feel that's a really big plus, and brings more people in. And also what I enjoy being 21 and up is because, like, I feel like that age between, like, 17 to 20, I feel like a lot of people are kind of still, like cavemen, just, like, about, like, party-wise.
Yeah,
like,
learning how to drink.
Yeah, learning how to, like, get turned up and just, like, knowing your limits. And everyone just goes all out and just, like, gets really, really drunk or, like, does a drug and just, like, unfortunately, like, it just overdose. But oh shit, there we go. Oh, no static.
Nice.
I was like the audio, like, but yeah, like people don't know their limits, but once they turn 21, it's just like I feel like people are more knowledgeable about their limits, right?
Yeah, you eventually learn, you know how to party at least a bit better than before. You can know how many drinks you can take, or whatever you're doing. But.
Totally. And just having people like when you meet people there at the Cross Festival, like there's people that come from LA, people that come from the Bay Area, people that come from Tijuana, people that come like even more down south in Mexico, which is really dope. And also like now that Cross has been going on for almost about to be like 9 years?
Yeah, dude, I actually don't even know. There's so many.
It started like in 2015, 2014, I want to say.
I want to say 2015, yeah. Could be wrong. Don't quote me
like
on
7 years around there, but it's just like now I started to see like more people like from Europe that come all the way down here, which is pretty dope, and like it's definitely growing, and having it twice a year, like that's very beneficial. And for the first one is it's in the start of spring, right?
Yeah, around March time, and then the second one is around September, October.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's always a win-win. Everyone. I feel like one day or like one festival a year, it's like oh fuck, it's like 6 months already. Like I wanted that festival to happen. I feel like Cross like it's perfect that way. Because
Yeah.
that's two different seasons.
You don't have to wait, and it's always good weather for the
Yeah.
most part. At least the October one, September one is always the best weather.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just such a unique festival experience. So if you've never been, definitely go.
Yeah, and plus the after parties too are
After parties
really
are
good.
so much fun.
Because it's dope. Because it's like in 4 different venues, where they kind of like host those DJs that played at Cross, and then they have the DJ sets, huh?
Yeah, they get really creative too now. So they try to really switch it up with like bringing, let's say, I think this year they're bringing Dead Mouse, but it's Test Pilot. So it's his like techno alias.
Yeah.
So they'll do like stuff like that and then it won't be a club, like they'll do a boat or they'll do,
Yeah.
I don't know, a warehouse that normally isn't like a normal venue. So they'll try to switch it up and it keeps it interesting.
Yeah. Totally. And I still remember like when you were used to work those festivals like Cross, and it would be like I would stay with you guys like at your house with Bernardo, and then like you have to leave like at 9 or 10 in the morning because they open up at 11, and then you would be working like the whole day.
Yeah.
It would be like you could probably take a little break, but yourself like you would be like you always went over that extra mile and just always like made sure everything was going well, and then uploading like new videos like on stories. I remember you go behind the DJs, and then I remember like some other days like or other festivals like you're like, oh, you want to come with me like in backstage? I was like, oh yeah, dude, and then they'd be chill about it because you would work your ass off, and they understood like the people that you were with, like they're like, oh, they're Alex's homies, like they're my homies too, and that's such a chill like team too as well, right? So,
yeah, I love the team, man.
I'm guessing that's why you like stayed quite a while there. Like how many years did you work there?
I think I was there also like 3 or 4 years. I don't know.
3 or 4 years.
I gotta remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I loved it. It was definitely a really fun job. Obviously, super passionate about it. Yeah, I remember I was crazy. Like these festivals, you could just take a normal story with your phone, but I was like, nah, that's not good enough. I would take like this camera that I had. It was like an Osmo Pocket, and just film like this 4K of like everything going on, and then edit a video super quickly in the trailers, and then post it like right after that set or whatever. And be like, check out like the highlight of this set, and it'd be super high quality, like with effects and everything. And nobody was doing that at the time, so it was like real time content, like coming from the festival.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, but that's why also you were so successful in that company, because like people really admired that work.
Yeah.
Like working in real time and also being a multitasker, where there's other people that are like, oh, I recorded this and I'll edit it and I'll upload it next week, and just like, bro, if you can do it right now and you have the tools and you have the equipment, like might as well do it right now. And
I always saw it like, how could it be better, right? So if I wasn't there, maybe I wanted to buy a ticket for the next day. What's going to convince me to buy the ticket? Well, I'm seeing how crazy the show is right now. Like, sell it to them,
Yeah.
So that's what I always thought in my head.
And you being such a great fan of that music and just being so submerged into the whole scene, like, you're like, all right, if I like it, if that gives me chills, if that wants me to, the next day go to this event, like, I'm going to do it, you know? And there's a lot of people that kind of like self-doubt that, and are like, oh, if I do this, like, people are not going to like it, or it's just like, you just got to go for it, right? It's just like, got to take that leap of faith. But I feel like a lot of people are just like, get anxious about like the future, like what are they going to think? Like, and then they kind of backtrack and then they don't do it,
Yeah, that's a big thing. And I think that's the biggest thing that I really liked about working there too, is I had a lot of freedom. Just like, my college experience with that class, it was kind of the same. It was having the freedom of, these guys trusting me.
Yeah.
And knowing that I could do a good job. So I gave it my all,
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't be anxious about it. I think you just got to do it. And obviously it's not going to go well every single time, but if you keep doing it, you're going to learn from it, and you're going to know how to, better yourself and improve your work. So that's the only way.
Yeah.
With music, with design, with whatever.
Anything you have, anything that you want to create or you want to like show people. Funny thing, I was watching this Gary Vaynerchuk like motivational video in the morning, and he had a really good point where it comes to like, they asked him of like, how do you like split yourself into like 100 different pieces on a day, and how do you rest, like how do you work day in day out? And he's like, I still sleep 7 hours a day, but the other like 14 hours or like 13 hours, like I'm gonna work my ass off. But also, like, a lot of people tend to be in a comfort zone where, let's say they juggle one ball and then they throw it up and down and they catch it and they're just too careful of like not dropping it. I throw like 17 balls and I'm juggling like 13. The other rest like fell on the floor, but I'm doing more things in one day compared to other people that are just doing one ball and throwing it up and down, you know?
Yep.
So that's what, like, I'm guessing like that's what you did when you were working there. It's just like throwing a bunch of content out and just seeing what's gonna resonate with people. And you took all those risks compared to one person that just did only one job.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Yeah. And so yeah, you worked cross. You finished working there? Was it when the pandemic hit, or
Yeah,
or
literally.
when was it when you were just like taking it to the next step?
I think it was 2019, right, when the pandemic hit. But basically,
2020, the beginning of 2020.
yeah, but the last cross, or whatever it was.
cross was March 2020.
Was that it? Okay.
Yeah.
So that was literally like my last week there, because what happened was, obviously, literally, I think it was the last festival before the pandemic.
Mhm.
Like, since that Saturday or whatever, the next week, everything shut down.
Yeah, I remember that.
And like people were freaking out about COVID there.
Yeah, I remember it was like everyone's grabbing all the hand sanitizers
Yeah.
and just trying to rub everything all over your body because of COVID.
Exactly. It was such a crazy experience. And
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to last that long.
No one did. Like, probably like 1 or 2 weeks, huh?
Yeah, they kind of told us, like, obviously we would have our jobs, but, 2 years went by, and I was like, I need money.
Yeah.
So I went on unemployment. And from there, like, COVID still there wasn't an end to it. So I was like, what's next?
Like, unpredictable.
It was unpredictable. And I was just like, well, events are obviously, you can't do events. That was the whole job.
Yeah.
So there's no revenue there. So what can I do? So I started looking. And during the whole pandemic, I got obviously this whole, like, another sense of urge to change my life in a way, to kind of see, like, what's next.
Yeah.
And LA kept calling me in a way, it was like, I should move back to LA. Like, something was just like in my body wanted to change.
Yeah.
And so I applied, though, literally to like different cities, New York, Miami, even Europe, just to see like what I would find, just to change it up. And somehow I stumbled upon this post on entertainment careers.
Mm-hmm.
It was super vague. It literally had like, oh, can you do graphic design, so the social media, blah, 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 all this stuff that I already knew how to do. And I was like, I'm like overqualified for this job, in my head. That's what I thought. And so I applied to it and thought nothing of it. 2 days after the Super Bowl, I get a response. And yeah, it's the job I'm currently in, which is Salix Co. It's a artist management company, and I do creative work for them. So
nice. And you got you I'm guessing during the pandemic you got an interview through Zoom.
Yeah, it was a Zoom interview.
I never got that experience of, like, I knew many of my friends got that, like, Zoom interview.
Yeah.
How was that process? Was it just like, oh, like, we'll give you a code and then you're gonna jump in and we're gonna ask you a couple questions, or how was the whole process?
It wasn't. I mean, it was pretty smooth, honestly. Like the interview process, at least, it wasn't super intimidating.
Did you wear a suit, like, inside?
I actually did not wear a suit this time, which maybe I should have, but it worked out, thankfully. Yeah. But it was just a very casual conversation. You just got a feel for me, and I asked a couple questions about the company, because at the time I was not familiar at all, and I honestly didn't know what I was getting into.
Got it.
So it was definitely a big shock and surprise.
Yeah. And when they told you about the interview, like, during the interview they told you about, like, the artists that they work with, or when did you find out about it?
So I found out when they replied back to the email, because obviously it was the company email, and I was like, what? I looked it up, and I was like, what? Like how are these guys managing all these artists? Like, I've never heard of it, but that's just at the time I just wasn't that big into that music.
Submerged into that.
Yeah, so, but yeah, for those that don't know, Salix Co. represents The Weeknd, Doja Cat, Swedish House Mafia, French Montana, BB Rexa, just to name a few. But there's 60 plus clients on top of those. So
that's sick, man. And it's crazy and very interesting how like your life kind of went into into a circle where you were working with Steve Angelo, Size Records, and then you went to San Diego, and then went back to LA, and then Swedish House Mafia became part of it, because I think when you went into Salixco, Suicide Mafia wasn't there yet, right?
No, they were actually in the process of getting signed. So it was funny. Like, right, I think my first week was literally like a Zoom with them on it, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is literally like
Yeah.
a full circle in my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, now we're here, so it's cool to see
Up,
that come through.
That's sick. And your job there, what is it like? If you can describe it like in a couple.
Yeah, so I'm a creative manager, so that entails literally anything creative that the label or the artist cannot pay out of pocket or have a budget for. I kind of just take that over.
Okay.
Whether it's like anything from assets to the actual album art covers.
Nice.
I also maintain the websites. I've redesigned the company logo. Helped structure also like these sheets that we have throughout the company that really keeps us organized.
Nice.
It's literally anything that involves like Photoshop or editing.
Yeah.
That's me. So
that's what's up. And like, for example, like you make a final project, like it goes, I'm guessing, through different filters when it comes to like your boss, and then from there it goes to the artist, and they talk about it, and then from there it's just like it's time to release it, or when is it like when you're like, oh, it's good to go?
It's actually insane, like how much of a process it is, and I actually didn't think about it until like today, because it's like I obviously make a design, or various, because obviously you're gonna have they're not gonna like it for the most part, first version. So I come up with a concept. That concept gets passed around with my bosses. Then it goes to the artist. And if there's multiple artists involved, that means it has to go to their management as well. And their
different perspectives.
So
different
there's
opinions.
like 20 different processes. And then on top of that, it goes to the label. And the label has to clear everything, like the photos used, the fonts. Then I have to sign a contract. It's this whole fucking thing.
Yeah, where it was before when you were with Bob, and you just make a creative project.
I like it. That's it.
And submit it. You pass, Now it's like actually, oh shit, it's a business.
It's
like,
a whole thing.
You're getting paid, and it's these big artists, and it definitely has to go through these loops and holes, because if you just release it, and I feel like it could definitely like everyone could be shot in the foot, and just like kind of didn't think about something, and then there's other artists like, oh, I use that art, or I use that color, or I use that font. Like,
it's literally,
where is my rights, to this? And it's just like, oh, shit.
And when you have multiple people involved, obviously that shifts the whole project as well. It's not a bad thing, but it's good to have other people's perspectives.
Of course.
But it goes through many changes. Just because I send the first thing doesn't mean it's at all close to final.
And how different was it when you were working at Size Records with like EDM and like house music, like that environment compared to this kind of scene where it's like more like pop, hip hop, or is it not really like?
It is different though, because Size in itself had a very minimal, clean like look, branding wise, just how it presented itself. So, and I understood that. So for me, like when I was creating assets and stuff for them, like any designs, I already knew what was, this is Size, this is its brand. Whereas now we're working with 60, 70 clients. They all have their own brand, and they all have their own way of like how they want to perceive themselves. So it's like that's the biggest challenge, is finding their that middle ground between my designs and their liking. So that's the biggest thing for sure.
And what do you think is a great way of like finding that middle ground? Is it like building relationships with them, or like kind of like digging into their world? Because I mean, I saw that on your story today that you're you made the cover art with Marshmello and was
and Nancy Adrian.
And she's from Saudi Arabia, right?
She's a Lebanese artist.
Or Lebanese, sorry.
It's I think the biggest thing is diving into their worlds and seeing what you can take out of it. See what they've released in the past too. Also understand like when I get sent the song, like I'll understand it more, because that's where you hear it and I could try to visualize it in my head. But if you're just like, here's what we want, in a way, it's like it's hard to figure out. Right. So there's gonna be multiple takes on that, you know. But that definitely helps me.
That's good, man. And when it comes to they give you like an instruction of like how to make that cover art or anything, but if they were like, all right, Alex, like go crazy on it? Like what do you like find more like what influence do you find into like making like your own art?
Hmm. For me, the biggest thing, at least in our company, we like to use the actual, like if there's an artist, we use some photo, some sort
Right.
of photo of them. Um, so it's finding how to use those and making it work with the cover art. So I think it kind of not it doesn't limit my restrictions,
Right.
but in a way it makes me more creative because this is what we have, so we kind of have to
Work
work
with
around
that.
that. Yeah, work around it or work with it. So that kind of you can see like if I show you my process, you'll see like the different takes on it, and you'll see how different each one is and what
Yeah.
I start experimenting with.
Yeah, of course. No, it definitely like reminded me of Miss Eklund. Shout out Miss Eklund, my high school teacher that kind of really inspired me into going into film school, and also like doing creative projects like what we're doing right now in the podcast. Uh, she would always give us this like super like great message of like it doesn't matter like how expensive your camera is or your equipment is, actually the story you deliver to people. Whereas like very similar to you like what you have, like just work your way out of it or manage your creativity with what you have. It just like really resonated with me on that sense too. In high school, it's just like any camera you have or any equipment, just work something. Like if you are creative, you're gonna deliver that message to people, and people are gonna respect you, or people are gonna enjoy what you actually like project to people.
100%.
Yeah, and shout out to Ms. Eklund and Otay Ranch High School. She's not a teacher there anymore. She already retired, but
Okay.
but yeah, it's crazy now talking in English and just like speaking, and everyone can hear now. Just
Yeah,
all the
for
shout
real,
outs
right?
that I really wanted. I gave shout outs in Spanish, but I know that they didn't listen to those episodes. Sooner or later, I'll get some subtitles in to
Yeah.
the other episodes. It'd be dope. But yeah, man, that's pretty dope that you're working, and you're still working in this.
Still there? Yeah.
That's awesome.
I
Man.
love it. Honestly, it's a
then
dream
when
job.
Yeah, and when it comes to while you were working there, when was it when you decided to change your name from Alex Bustamante to Currents? Or
Funny enough, that was actually during my time at Crossed. So I remember having a chat with Junior. We were scheduling like the year's releases, and he was like, "Oh, like you should send me something. Like, we should put you on the label." I was like, "What?" I was like, he knew I produced, but I wasn't making house at the time. I was doing progressive house, electro, or big room and trap. So it's like I wasn't really in the house world. Obviously, with the releases we were signing, I started getting into it more. But
and before him asking you that question, did you ever show him some of your music?
yeah, so I had a moment where the Currents project was actually like future house and more experimental, like dance, I guess. And I had showed him those tracks. He was like, "You should make something for Brobot." And so I started making house just to see like what I could make, I guess.
Right.
And he ended up liking my first house track that I made, which is Disco Nights, and that's on Brobot. So
That was the first track
yeah,
that
that's the
came
first
out.
track. And that's the first track I ever signed on any label.
It's crazy.
So I was like, well, if I got this signed, like I can continue to make this
yeah,
stuff.
build more stuff.
And I started to fall more in love with it, going down like the rabbit hole of those subgenres of like Jack and House and Disco House and Deep House, and so that really like helped mold the current project today.
And what was your process like when you released Disco Nights? Like when you made it happen, how long was your process? Was it a year? Was it 5 months? Was it you worked on it and then you came back to it, or how was it?
I think it was definitely a long time. Yeah, I would say it was like a year actually.
Yeah.
And I like to perfect all my stuff.
Right.
I'm a very like, I don't know, just like a very clean freak in that sense, where it's like I
Detail
want it to
oriented.
sound, detail oriented. I want it to sound how I want it to sound. I want to compare it to others, and I want it to sound like that.
Yeah.
So I was very, anal in that sense. So I fixed it up until it got to that point. So
Nice. And was that just yourself, or was it a collab, or
that was just myself. Yeah,
yourself?
that was my first just house single, I guess.
Nice. And what influenced you into making that track? Was it like a disco song from the 80s? Was it a disco night you had back in the day, or
If I remember, I just like sampled this like disco like track, but it wasn't even that much, and I just kind of like filtered the crap out of it and chopped it up, and that gave it like that, you know, that rhythm. And then I found this sample on Splice that says the Disco Nights thing on there, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, you know, I just threw it together and made the track.
Yeah, that's what I love about music, or just art itself. Like, you could reappropriate it and make it your own version of what you perceived from the beginning, and you just add your taste to it, you know. And just like, as much as artists say like, oh, this is my original shit, and like it comes from me and myself and I, you know, it's just like, nah, bro, like you got your ideas influenced by certain artists, something you saw down the street, a movie, or just like things, little details that you saw, something that popped into your mind, and you're just like, I'm gonna make this, you know. And that's, I mean, you listen to like this little sample and you added it to it, and just start working with that. And when you're working on your tracks, do you have like since you're mentioning you're detail oriented, like, do you also have that same process in the beginning? Like, do you put your like vocals first, or do you put beats first, or like your synths, or is it just kind of like every song different?
I'm mainly like, I like to start with more like the melodic elements of stuff. So I will start with a sample. At least with this project, I'm very sample based.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll find like a cool track that I like. It's something hidden even, you know, like I have a vinyl of record collection at home, and I'll just like dig up random stuff sometimes and just throw it in, or go on YouTube and pull something completely like obscure and see how I can mess with it.
Yeah.
So as long as it has like that feeling for me, I work from that. And then from there, you know, start adding the beats, make the bass line, and then just like effects and stuff like that, and then you start building out the track that way. Yeah. That's my process.
Yeah. I remember like, even I think it was Swedish House Mafia, like, I forget if it was Axel or Steve Angelo, who said like, goosebumps never lie. And that always like resonated with me. Like, I mean, I don't produce songs, but every time I listen to a track and it just like, it gives you goosebumps, I mean, for yourself, like, that's a really good song. Yeah. And I'm guessing that's you whenever you make a song and you like it, you enjoy it, and you dance to it. I'm guessing that's when you know that it's going to be a good track, right?
Junior actually had like a really good word of advice. He said like, if you can loop the loop for like 3 minutes and still like dance to it and not get tired of it, it's a good, like, you're good with that. Yeah. So I kind of like use that rule. Yeah. And obviously, like, if there's like some sort of serotonin release or
of course
or feeling that I feel, then I know I'm on the right track.
Definitely. And when do you know when a track is ready? I mean, that's definitely
the hardest thing.
Similar or very common question.
I think I like, in terms of that, I have like a checklist in my head of like what needs to be added. Yeah. And then from there, you know, like the structure itself is always going to change, so that's up to you. But in terms of like elements of the track, like, as long as I reach all those and then get it to the point where it sounds like how I want it to sound, then I'm good. But you can technically add as much as you want or take away as much as you want. Exactly. That's up to you. It's subjective. Yeah. So, but for me, you know, I have a hard time really figuring it out.
And I feel like sometimes you release it and then you listen to it and you're like, oh shit, I should add it. Yeah. Taking this out.
That's how it was before, you know? That really was before. But now I look back at it, I'm like, damn, like, that's cool that I did that, you know? Yeah. You look at sometimes they're mistakes and there really are like happy accidents, and you're like, that makes a song, that gives a character. Yeah. So like, I'm more open now, but before I was very like, you know, picky about it.
Yeah, very strict about your work. But then it's like, hey,
that's how it came out.
Yeah, and people dig it, you know? And it's just like, as I've heard from different artists too, and like Jackie Mendoza, shout out to her, like on her episode, and just other artists in general, like a song that they just released it and they're like kind of iffy about, and they're the songs that are the most like heard, 100%. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, for me it was just kind of a trashy song, and then people like resonate with it. Yeah. Like, how is that feeling? Like, it's kind of weird, or
it is weird, huh? But that's what I say. It's like, I think in terms of like making a song, it doesn't have to be like the most well-produced thing. It's more about the idea. Exactly. Obviously, you want it to sound nice, especially like today's standards. But but in terms of like the idea, like, shit, that doesn't matter. If it gets people dancing, if it makes people cry, if it makes people happy, who cares? Yeah,
and going off a tangent, like, I feel like, I really respect and I really enjoy like Bad Bunny, like Bad Bunny music, his lyrics. Like, I feel like they just resonate so good in each song, like track after track, because he brings in like all these lyrics that connect to pop culture, and they connect to different like areas of like different cultures.
Yeah.
That's why like a lot of people could sing to them or like could resonate, and they're just like so good, and the beats as well. Because I know that Bad Bunny is also a producer, and he used to make a lot of tracks like back in the day in SoundCloud, and just like I feel like that's like, as you were mentioning right now, like if you know your audience and you really enjoy what you're doing, people are gonna resonate no matter what, you know.
I think, yeah, his success is really determined on him touching on subjects that only like our generations can really experience, you know, whether it's, you know, these booty calls or like the dating scene that's kind of toxic. It's just like these are things that people are going through these days, and it's just like we really can at least like resonate with it. So
of course, yeah, like Yo Perreo Sola, like very feminist, like a feminist side of it, things like I don't need a guy to dance with me, and just like that's nowadays like it is very out there, where it's just like he doesn't really care what people think, that he's gonna like bring out that statement. And also on his music videos, they're so just like very creative on that sense. So it's just like at the end of the day, it's what you enjoy doing, and also like know what you want to like deliver that message to people, you know, and that's very important too, delivering the messages. But yeah, man, that's really dope. And why Currents? Why'd you name yourself Currents?
That's a good story. I mean, that's a good question, I guess. I don't really remember. I remember I had like in my head a couple of ideas for a new name, and I think mainly because when I was started the project, I was in Thailand, and I was by the ocean, and you know the beats that I was making at the time really inspired me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like the wave, like literally I had samples of like the waves in my track that I made at the time, and I was like, okay, this is like I want it to be like a beach vibe, maybe more like chill.
Yeah. And
that kind of just stuck because when Disco Nights came out, I kind of did want to change the name.
Yeah.
But it was already out, and I was like, fuck, like might as well keep it.
Yeah.
But I ended up developing like this concept in my head, which I haven't done, but I want to do sets where they can be like a low tide set where it's more like chill deep house or reggaeton or down tempo.
Yeah.
And do high tide sets where it's more like the upbeat disco stuff.
Yeah.
More tech house stuff like that. So I have that concept, and I kind of, you know, I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it'll be greatly admired by people, and just like if you actually deliver that, and then just people already know it's like, oh, Currents is gonna play this kind of set and this other kind of set, which is dope. And I mean, obviously, sky's the limit, as you are like seeing. Like you could be working with Solix Co, and then also working on your creative side of things, which is like that's what life's about, you know. Like as long as you have that balance where it comes to business, and also like working on your things where you could just freely be free about stuff, and having a guy like Roger.
Junior.
I mean Junior.
Like I did work with Roger too.
Yeah, Roger Sanchez. Because are they brothers? Or are they related?
No, they just
all?
grew up. Yeah,
but they know each other, right?
They know each other, and I've worked with both of them.
Yeah, sorry. Well, Junior's gonna be like, fucking Dan. But yeah, Junior is just like having someone that backs you up and just supports like your creative side of things. Like that's definitely like gives you more gasoline, you know, to keep on like making stuff and working with collaborating with people within the record label, and just kind of like knowing different realms of music, you know.
Yeah, you 100%, you know, like I think that's why Junior is so impactful for me, because at least like I get to run things by him, and he kind of gives me that assurance in myself and the confidence of releasing stuff, because if it wasn't for him, I would have never probably put out anything.
Yeah.
I was super scared to put out anything because I had that, you know, kind of like pigeonholed my work in a way, and just wanted to reach this standard, which I wasn't there. I still probably am not there, but
yeah,
you know, like you'll never get there if you don't even put it out. So
yeah,
you just got to do it.
And do you remember your first time you were mixing, like you were playing a DJ set and you played your Currents track? Like when was that, or how was that feel to?
Funny enough, like I don't really play my own music that much, at least like nowadays, because it's a lot of opening sets, and honestly, I try to make my stuff more for peak time.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, I honestly, to be honest with you, I don't recall like a certain situation.
Oh, wow.
But I remember Jesus played one of my tracks at Bang Bang, and I saw people dancing to it, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
You know, to see like something that I made like being played and people actually like dancing to
Enjoying it.
That's like a really cool feeling.
Yeah. And was it a song like your own song, or was it a collab with him?
So that one was actually the What You Mean by
Uh-huh.
me. That was on my Way You Move EP on Brobot as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what's up. And I remember, like, because I went to that show where Junior Sanchez was playing at Bang Bang.
Yeah.
And I remember he invited you, I think it was like a week before, or like, was it like 2 weeks before, where like it was kind of too soon, but you're like, I'm down for playing like on your night. Tell me about that. Was that one of your first like real gigs, like playing at Bang Bang, one of your like really cool venues that you like loved going to?
Yeah, so that was actually like, obviously that was always a goal of mine to play at Bang Bang. When I was working at Cross, it was like,
Yeah.
how sick would it be to play here? You know, it's like we have some crazy talent. It always is packed and there's a great crowd and people go for the music. You know, it's not just a club. So being able to play, first of all, open for Junior and play a club that I've always wanted to play at. And it was my 30th birthday that night. So it was like, dude, it all just came together. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's also like one of those full circle moments that I've had in my life that just, it's unforgettable. Yeah, priceless and unforgettable.
That's what's up, man. And then I remember we went to the after party at your house, and we had some crazy Australian dudes like chasing around. But I mean, I remember like having a little small conversation with Junior, and like he's a really down to earth kind of guy, you know. Where I mean, there's people in the music industry where they kind of like get their egos like out of their bodies or like their feet off the ground and just kind of like don't talk to people that are in the music industry. But I'm really just having a casual conversation with him, and he just sounded like a pretty cool dude, you know, like when it comes to like just talking about any kinds of subject, and he was down to like share his story. Then I was like, oh shit, I just like met you right now, and he's down to talk to me, and I'm kind of like a nobody, but like it was dope that we could have a casual conversation, and what you are mentioning to me about his personality and just him believing in you and being humble, like I feel like that's just like has to be all around, you know, not only in music but just like anything you do, like being extremely grateful and being humble and like helping the next generations like be successful on what they're doing. I feel like that's what Junior's doing with you, you know, which is dope.
Yeah, man, it's really important to have a mentor in your life, you know, whether it's from your parents or your friends or, you know, people like Junior, you know, and that's hopefully one day I can do that to one or many people, you know, pass that on, because that really helped me.
Yeah, man.
And if I could do the same, I want to give it back. So
yeah,
it's really important to have.
Yeah, man. And honestly, I one of my friends, shout out to Greg, he used to have I think it was like Tractor, like on a virtual DJ.
Nice.
And we used to play like in college, just in his dorm, and then we would mix for hours and hours, and just like, it's crazy how you were mentioning when you were at Big Bear with your family, and just like, it feels like when you play for an hour and then it's just like you check the time and like 5 hours pass and it goes by super quick, because it's just like I feel like that loopness of the songs like starts to like become like hypnotizing to you while you're like making or mixing music. And honestly, it has been part of like my like ideas or like my dreams of just like maybe potentially like playing a set like at least an hour. So I mean, as you are mentioning, like you're down to help people. I'd be dope to just like mix, you know, and be, you know, in a year or so, I don't know, just like
why not soon?
Why not, dude? And El Border Kid sounds like also like a cool DJ.
We'll do it live on the podcast.
Yeah, dude, and just playing live, that'd be dope, dude.
Yeah,
just
man,
like,
whenever you want.
Just like that podcast I heard you was that
All Things House?
Yeah.
Ollie?
Yeah. What's his name?
DJ Ollie Red. Shout out Ollie.
Yeah, and he played also in Bang Bang, right?
Yeah.
He opened up.
He actually opened up for me and Paul.
Yeah. Well, that part of it was like 30 minutes of podcast, and then the other rest was you playing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that'll be dope, you know, and maybe in the near future, like having you in a second episode, bringing the turntables and then playing here, be dope.
Super down, man.
Yeah, dude.
Whenever you want.
Last episode I had Sergio Curiel. I don't know if you know him, but we were talking about his entrepreneur like project, and we were eating pizza. Like we ordered actually like Uber Eats, and we brought pizza here, and then we started eating pizza while we were talking. So, you know, I have like different like cool things to do when it comes to like doing the episodes and just being creative about stuff, and that'll be dope, you know, bringing turntables in.
Yeah.
And mixing, dude.
That'd be tight.
Yeah. Be down. Sooner or later.
I'll teach you whenever
you'll
you
hear El Border Kid back to back currents. And Jesus.
And
I was talking
you
to
gotta get
Jesus.
on here.
Yeah, while I was at Groundswell Brewing, I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
His
3 weeks
home.
ago.
That's like his second home.
Yeah, he loves it there. He loves also like making tracks there.
He's so
too.
productive there, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I've made a couple tracks with him there too. It's
Yeah, I remember also like seeing him during the pandemic, like on like Insta stories, like him working song after song after song, and just like day in day out, which I truly admire from him. And I've seen him also play, and shout out to him. But yeah, he asked me like, yo, like I've seen your the Border Kid podcast. That's dope, man. And how do you come up with the questions when you interview people? And I'm like, it's kind of like, if I don't know the person, I'm gonna research him and just or her. But when it comes to homies, people I know, I just like have a casual conversation, that's what I really want the podcast to be. But yeah, it'd be dope. The next episodes, like maybe bringing Jesus like on his own, and then you guys coming in and having like a third mic and just having a chit chat, talking about music. And
oh man, we have so much. Yeah, we have so many studio stories, so that'd be cool.
Yeah, man.
And he's actually the reason why I played that Bang Bang show. I totally, I forgot to mention that. But he's like, he's a resident at Bang Bang, so he's like, dude, this guy's the label manager for Junior, and he threw me on there. So
that's what's up.
Shout out to Jesus for that. Straight up.
Man. Well, that's pretty dope, man. Just how your life when it came to like from the beginning, like in middle school, high school, that you were into music and your cousins got you into it, and just kind of trial and error, you started mixing. And I mean, I feel like that's what life's about. If you are truly passionate about something and you keep being in that same environment or just like around the same things, like sooner or later it's going to become a job and it's going to be something you enjoy doing. And how we were talking about the circle of life, how it just in the beginning you were with Size Records, and then Swedish House Mafia started coming, and they came into the company you're working at now, and also having a mentor like Junior and still working with him. So that's keep at it, man. And I truly admire what you do, and I always like post stories from you and just like love to like just tag you on stuff, because like I really enjoy like seeing homies like always being like successful. And if they're still like, it's like a roller coaster, like no matter what, I'll be there. And just like it's dope seeing you grow and bringing you to the podcast and just talking about your little life story and inspiring people, and just obviously like telling everyone not to give up. And you might be in a dark place and you had to come back to San Diego during the pandemic times, and there's some times where life is not going to be great, but don't give up. Sooner or later, you got to keep on going. You got to keep that ball rolling, and you're gonna be successful. And just that's what life's about. Life's a game.
It's the biggest thing, man.
Yeah, man. And thanks for coming, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Seriously, it means a lot.
Do you have any other? Do you have a message for the internet, for the folks?
Nah. I'm good.
How can they follow you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm Alex Bustamove on Instagram. That's my personal one if you want to follow that. Mm-hmm. But if you want to follow my music, it's Currents Music. So at Currents Music, and that's everywhere.
Yeah.
SoundCloud, Instagram, all that.
Hell yeah.
I have a release that just dropped on Culture 2 weeks ago. It's called Havana to Paris EP. And go get it. Go listen to it. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, man. Have it from Currents, a.k.a. Alex Bustamante. Thank you guys for listening to the first episode in English. Ooh. Episode 30. You guys want to follow me on Instagram as LEL_BorderKid, and YouTube, El Border Kid, TikTok, and Facebook. And thank you guys for all listening all the way to the end of this podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
For sure. This audio was perfect.
Yeah?
Even though it's static, it was shit too.